So I'm trying to get a little bit more consistent in making videos. There was a large gap between my last two videos, the Grimoire video and the first part of Window of Orpheus. It took a long time for me to write and edit for Window of Orpheus, but I've got the scripts out for part 2 and 3, and I'm going to start filming on part 2 in a little bit. I already have the setup across from me in the room. I wrote the scripts for part 2 and 3 at the same time, so I should be able to get them out a little bit more consistently. But right now I'm doing another little J-Fashion updates and events video just to fill in the gap. So the events covered in this video will be the EGL Mail Valentine's Day card exchange, the Lolita Collective Sent with Love Tea Party, the Bleeding Heart Tea Party and Atelier Perrault Dallas pop-up, and the Chicago Great Lace Valentine's Day card exchange. I've known about EGL Mail through Facebook for a couple of years now, and I liked the idea of pen pals, and I decided that this was the year I was finally going to commit to doing something. So I did 2 original watercolor, like little Usukumiya paintings, and sent them off with a bunch of other stuff, and I was able to send it off on my way going to Kansas City, and then I was able to get the receipts from my exchange before I headed off to Texas, so everything worked out. Great timing between these 2 events. The LC's Sent with Love Tea Party. So I made a video on their grand opening tea party, and they have since moved locations. Same shopping outlet, just a few streets over. I also attended the Behind the Veil, which was their Halloween event for last year. It was in the new location. I didn't make a video on it because I was deep into filming for my Window of Orpheus video. For the grand opening tea party, the VIP tickets sold out pretty quickly. For the Behind the Veil, I decided and I got the VIP ticket from the get-go. For Sent with Love, I initially got the general admission, but 1 week before the tea party, there was 1 VIP ticket left, and so I just emailed them and had my ticket upgraded. Jade Island was the guest for the event, and she was lovely. We also had a section where we made Valentine's Day cards, and I always love a good craft. There was a huge selection of stickers and stationery to work with. I ended up making a drawing of Jade and giving it away to her, and she loved it. I didn't do a lot of shopping at the LC because I did want to save up for the other events I had coming up. I did bring my Emma plush with me because I knew that they sold little dress-up plushes, and I wanted to see if the clothing fit, and it did. I got this cute little strawberry t-shirt. I also got this bread pin on a whim because it was one of the gift basket items for NakaCon 2025, and I have yet to go to NakaCon. It has a magnet, so this thing just like lives on my fridge. The last thing I got was a Bonnie blind box because I'm kind of a sucker for when there's like one thing left on the shelf. I know some people, like, when they see one thing left, they go, I'll leave it for someone else. Well, if you're that person, you're leaving it for me. I've always been an admirer of ball-jointed dolls, and with blind boxes and other more budget options, I'm glad that I can actually own one. From the blind box, I got the Sakura version. She's currently not in her original outfit because I have her original outfit on my Oscar Nui. This brings us to our next event, which is the Bleeding Hearts Tea Party and Atelier Perrault Dallas pop-up. Every year, the DFW.com does a large swap and tea party event, usually around New Year's. This one was delayed a little bit, but I had planned ahead to go to this one even before I knew that Atelier Perrault was going to be a vendor. The meet usually has small local vendors alongside the swap and tea party, but this was the first time we had a major Japanese brand show up. I showed up early to help the LC set up as they were also a vendor there. I didn't get a lot of footage because I spent most of my time socializing, meeting with people that I may only get to see once or twice a year. I made some sales at the swap meet, but I had also set aside enough to get a main piece from the Atelier Perrault booth. They had posted what they were going to be selling online, and there were some pieces that I was already eyeing. From Atelier Perrault, I got these wrist cuffs. They were the last ones in white, and I don't have any wrist cuffs, so I thought maybe I should start now. Pretty good staple wrist cuffs. I also got this branded, it's supposed to be a AirPods case. Right now it's a mini rucksack for my mini rucksack Lusakumia. Once again, I love dressing up my little guys. The major piece that I got that I definitely knew that I wanted was this sheer JSK, which it's hard to say. It's not really a main piece because you have to wear something under it. You want to get back into wearing more sheer stuff. And the Bordeaux is just so lovely. A few more items I got were this Hello Mari pin. Mari is a local creator who was at the last New Year's event, and I'm so glad that they had branched out into doing more gothic designs. A lot of their stuff was pretty sweet, but I really love the delicate needlework, and this black and white goes with almost everything in my wardrobe. I also got this Moss Badger pin from the LC because, look at this guy's face. Look at him. I ended up wearing a lot of the stuff that I got at the Bleeding Heart event to the Great Lakes. With all the driving I had been doing, I decided to take the train up to Chicago for the Great Lakes, which price-wise, a private suite is about the same cost as a cheap airplane ticket, but you get more room and it's much more of a relaxed ride, and if you like looking out the window at stuff, it's great. I had arrived midday on Friday, and I was surprised at how many people had dressed up, fully dressed up for that day. Full bonnets, hoop skirts, everything. I went pretty casual that day. I wore a Innocent World vest JSK over a AP cardigan and Neo Ludwig pants rolled up just enough to show off my Enchantelli socks. The panels were all informative, with the idea that everybody attending the Great Lakes was already beyond the basics. The one problem is that the physical location of the panel room was on a different floor from all the other things, and it was sort of out of the way. I got lost the first day trying to find it. Eventually, I figured out the maze of the Palmer Hotel, but it was not a convenient location compared to everything else. The main event of day 2 was the fashion show, but day 2 was the day that the vendors hall opened up, and that was probably the biggest appeal of the Great Lakes, I'm not gonna lie. There was not one, but 2 photo spots set up in the vendors hall. The one with the tea set and mural was always packed, but when me and my friend found the Chase Lounge unattended, we snapped a few photos. I waited until after the fashion show in order to make any of my purchases, as the vendors hall closed up during the fashion show. All of the brands in the fashion show were ones that Harajuku Hearts supplied in their San Francisco store. So after the fashion show, they were taking order requests for specific items if they sold out, which almost all of them did. Thankfully for my wallet, they weren't re-releasing the specific cut I wanted of Violet Plane's Asylum print, so I ended up getting a blouse from Chalmeret instead. I needed to get more colorful blouses in my wardrobe, and I saw this little capelet, and I was enamored. Xiaomale is what used to be Axfem's kawaii label. I usually have trouble getting my biceps into blouses, and they had a measuring tape, so I was able to measure and figure out that I could fit into the blouse before purchasing it. So it fits. I also purchased from Moss Badger this pin and ring. The ring is of Oscar Wilde, and the pin is of my favorite murdered British boys, Prince Edward and Richard. I love that Moss Badger does full historical figures, and even if you don't recognize who they are, you can still enjoy the pieces. But whenever I see them, I know who those are. I had to get them. One of the booths that I had been watching was Wax Poetic, and I knew I wanted to get a pin and a necklace from them. And I was half committed to a few things, so I waited my rounds to see what was going to sell out before making my purchases. Wax Poetic is best known for their wax seal pins and necklaces. I ended up getting this little honeycomb and bee pin because in Violet Fane's panel, she talked about how she was inspired by a lot of Spanish horror films, and this one reminded me a little bit of Spirit of the Beehive. There was also these chair necklaces that I was watching out for, but unfortunately the blue and red colorway had sold out, and the green colorway was a little more olive than what's in my wardrobe, so I ended up getting this necklace from their sales bin, which is just a embroidered necklace. It's red and black, so I know it's going to go with my wardrobe. The final day was the day of the tea party, but first, the swap meet, which was a little disappointing. The space was rather small, which makes sense as why the reservation tickets sold out within a few hours. I myself didn't try to go for one, but I knew people who did and were disappointed. I arrived about an hour after general admission, and there still was plenty of stuff for sale, although a few tables I noticed were clearing out. In a normal swap meet situation, somebody else would, cover a table once it got sold out, but with the reservation system, it meant that there were some tables that were almost completely empty, or assumably by the end completely empty, and weren't getting replenished. I understand that with a huge number of attendees, they needed some sort of organization. They couldn't just have a free-for-all. But I hope that next year they come up with a better system, either one that has, standby tabling to fill in those gaps, or they get a bigger space, just something so it's not as cramped as it was. I got one item at the swap meet, and it was this Boz jacket. I went to the one table that had any OG and got a Tyria Boz jacket. I'm becoming very, very wine Bordeaux. So I don't have footage of the tea party. It was a little hectic. It was near the end and I was pretty tired. The day before the tea party, I already knew that my seat was unassigned, that I had attempted to get group seating with either one of my comms, and neither of them had set up the group seating. People who just didn't apply for any seating got their table number. I got my table number when I went up there. They said it was table number 37. I walked around, realized there were only 36 tables before asking, what's up with table 37, which I think is just their code for unassigned. Eventually, they did find me a table, and there were a few other people with different cases. I had put vegetarian on my ticket for my dietary restrictions. I'm not full vegetarian, but oftentimes when it asks for dietary restrictions, that's the easiest thing to say. But I did find out that other people put very specific things on there, so I could have put more specifically what types of meat I can't eat, but thankfully there wasn't anything on the menu that I couldn't eat. They had dietary restriction cards for assigned seats, and my card wasn't there. It could have been somewhere else. I don't know, but I lucked out in the fact that there was nothing that I was, allergic to, that I didn't need an alternative. But where my card, if it was even there, existed, who knows? The food was rather inconsistent. There was a lot of it, so I was left pretty full, but there was some of it that I didn't eat because I didn't want to eat it. That being said, this is the biggest tea party I've ever attended, with over 300 people. A con usually went over 100. I'm not sure how large the last Paradiso was, but it was similarly large. And when you have a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. So it was that's the only caveat where it's like it went. There could have been much worse things that gone wrong. And more so giving my feedback so that they know next year how to deal with this. I like the system of having the group so that you can be with your comm, but it seemed that there were some people at my table that tried to sign up to be with their comm, but got moved to the table I was at because for whatever reason they weren't put together with their comm. And the issue of like thinking that, oh yeah, I have a large comm, somebody in my comm is gonna sign up and there'll be a space, and then none of us communicated, so there wasn't one. Overall, the system of grouping people in comms is very good, but it seems that whenever I attempted to do that and there wasn't one, it fell through, where people who just didn't submit for a comm to sit with had been placed in seating randomly. The fall through of not getting into a group caused more of an issue. So I did stop by the vendors hall one last time before they closed down. I got this Empire Noir two-way pin. I really like the subtle differences in the colors of the pom-poms and the roses and the gems on it. There's a lot I can work with this in my wardrobe. Then I stopped by the LC's booth, and I knew I needed some more Lolita t-shirts. If you have seen me in any like casual event or meetup, and I'm wearing the Baby the Star Shine Bright t-shirt from like Akon years ago, I know I need more Lolita t-shirts. So I got these Eat the Rich t-shirt from Mezzo Studio. I got this t-shirt from Echantele. It's a kappa. I love kappas. I also got the matching ring for it. They also had a pink-haired kappa, which I found out from Tensho. That's her like kappa design, which I didn't end up getting the hot pink one because I don't have a lot of hot pink in my wardrobe. The green one, I have enough green. I did get this Otome Nostalgia pen from Violet Fane. I've admired Otome Nostalgia as a print for a long time. I just can't justify it in my wardrobe. But I did get to talk with the designer of Violet Fane for a little bit about classical shoujo works and works that I knew about because there was a Spanish translation, but there wasn't an English translation. And she mentioned about how in her home region of Catalan, how they test run a lot of anime for TV there first before putting it over all of Spanish television. So all in all, did I enjoy my time at the Great Lakes? Of course. There were no discernible issues with the vendor hall or fashion show, and what small issues there were with the swap meet and tea party didn't put a damper on my time. The major thing that I loved was just being in the Palmer House and the theater district and just running into other Lolitas and OGs and being able to chat it up. I like being around people who have the same niche hobby, and it's not often that you get to do that. As my wardrobe has filled up, I made a concerted effort this year to spend more money on events where I had otherwise been spending it on clothes. And one of the greatest things is now that I have all these wardrobe pieces, I can put them together in different combinations and go to these events where people will really appreciate them. Throughout the 2010s, people were constantly saying how Harajuku was dying and that interest in jade fashion was dwindling. And there were a lot of events that were closing up shop. But now it seems that either small scale or even large scale events like the Great Place still have a lot coming for them. And I'm glad that they still exist. It's rather frivolous to say, but being around people who enjoy the same things I do and actually getting to go out and do things in the clothes that I love really, rekindled my faith in humanity, despite everything that's been going on.